Clayton Wood from Seamlss. If you don't know already, I like wearing pink shirts, and I own an accounting firm, and we built Seamlss to help the pain point of onboarding clients, because we were onboarding lots of clients and it was painful. So, yeah.
Nice.
So,
and
Tyler.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tyler Caskey. I'm a partner at the Bean Counters. We're a team of 10 in Sydney and New Zealand that help people select and install systems. We've also helped accounting firms select and install systems as well. And how I came across Clayton and the team, because we know that onboarding new clients and re-engaging them's, a tough and heavy papered journey, but also can be quite expensive as well.
Yes. Time cost, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Sometimes I feel like a lot of people go around in circles and they don't have to.
Very much.
So we built it. So today, going to cover a little bit about what Seamlss is. So for the newbies, we'll go through that process and introduce you to Seamlss, explain how the workflows work. So a lot of firms have an onboarding process. Tyler, you found?
Yes, they're very rough as well. Like you and I were talking about a story recently where one of my system install clients, I was helping him find a new tax agent, and they joined up, but the tax agent sent them a uneditable 9-page PDF format to do an individual tax return. And he was like, what am I supposed to do here, mate? Like, print it out, sign it, fill it in manually, and then send it back. So I've seen everything from nothing to horrible PDFs. There's obviously a few competitors in the market, but to me, it's about how to take the burden off your internal team, but also off the client. Because I hate providing 5 emails to accounting firms about data information when I could do it once, do it right.
Yep. Agreed. And yeah, you can go from one hook to the next hook to the next hook to the next hook, but the client's also going in and out of all different apps, which can be confusing for them. And that's why we've got a few integrations that obviously work well, which help either the client journey or the firm journey. We'll touch on that around XPM, the Stripe integration, so you stay within the app all times. We've also got an integration now that we've just launched today with Dropbox. And you can also zap data into Seamlss to keep that going. The Google Drive implementation will start hopefully over the weekend. So next week, any Google Drive users will use that. And the FYI integration, hopefully by the time Christmas, New Year starts, whenever it gets back, there'll be an FYI integration with Seamlss. So
nice. I'm keen to quiz you on that Stripe integration too. Like, I've heard it, I've seen you talk about it, but like I really want to understand like what's that benefit and how it costs. But mate, let's do it for the new users. Let's teach them what Seamlss is and what it does.
So I guess the key is it's that whole onboarding process for me. Like, our firm gets a lot of leads every week. I can have anywhere from 1 to 2 to 3 new client meetings every week, and it's a lot to deal with. So from that lead coming in, sending them pre-work, getting that data, Seamlss has now allowed me to collect that data, and they can't book in until they've given me their triage information. And once I've got that triage information, it kind of leads you to whether you even allow them to book in, or whether you cancel the booking if they're not a good fit. But once they're a lead, you turn them into a client, so you're going to onboard them, and then it's about that circular point of always contacting and re-engaging the client. So after doing this for a while, I thought everybody signed engagement letters all the time. We do it with Ignition if you're using Ignition, but a lot of firms don't use Ignition, so they don't really have a regular engagement process. And then with the new TASA rules and stuff, I noticed that a lot of people are now like, I've got to get everyone signed engagement letters and get them all refreshed. They don't really have much of a process around that. And Seamlss already solves that process in that every time you start a job with a client, you can send them a form, a re-engagement, to collect their details, collect files to start a job and sign an engagement letter. So before you even start the job, you've got that data. I think that's really key.
And for me, man, like, you're really targeting just accounting firms here, like as our main play. I'm sure most of the people on this call are, accounting firms. But it rings true for so many businesses about managing from, the start of an engagement. So you turn up into a good meeting, and especially for accountants, if I always find if we track and get the right amount of data early, like we just add more value, and those meetings are much more efficient. For our business, like we do a lot of scoping. We're probably about the same. I reckon I do 1 to 2 lead meetings, sometimes up to 10 per week.
Wow.
And yeah, it can be heavy. Like everyone knows you've got to ride those waves on business. But, for certain project work like we do, like consulting, I usually go in there quite raw, have a chat, ask a question, because every one of my clients is different. But when I was back in practice at Rothsay and KPMG and Deloitte, like, we would be very structured about making sure like we knew what that client was asking for, tax, compliance. Did they have a family trust? Did they have, an individual tax return? And I think this is what Seamlss, the onboard and verify and that lead management stuff does really well, is it enables the conversations for accountants to be very structured, and you can take a 1-hour meeting and turn it into like a really valuable meeting rather than doing 30 minutes of just discovery. And they're like, oh, actually I also have a family trust, and we've got a bucket company, and, actually we've also got a property, but it's in my personal name. So, the more information we can kind of come into those meetings, the clients provide it, but also it makes your ability to give good advice and, effectively close the sale, which is what you're trying to do, a bit more efficient.
And comment there about BAS. We definitely do have a few bookkeeping firms. It does work for bookkeeping firms. There is a switch within Seamlss that turns off TFNs and makes it not required. So it is geared towards bookkeepers, but not most, but a lot of bookkeepers, they only have their 10, 20, 30 clients. When you get over that 50, 100, 150, and if you're growing, then Seamlss is a good fit. But if you've only got 10 or 20 clients, you probably are going to keep a bit of a manual process. It is really a bit more work for you, but it's probably not worth spending money in implementing a whole app just to do onboarding and engaging. But going back to what you said, Tyler, when you're at the different businesses, do they have much of a process? Is the process for one manager and one team member, like, are they all the same? Is it rinse and repeat?
It's usually the answer is no. And I've seen 2 types of firms, and there's a in my opinion a big division in the market. You've got firms that grab tech and operate tech. You've got firms that don't. And the ones that don't, my previous, accounting firm, when I was doing tax compliance in 2020, we were 11 partners, and each one of us had a different onboarding process with no standard form. I guarantee you there was a Word document somewhere that we could have, would have, should have filled out. But, we were an XPM business, and we were just typing in new client details willy-nilly. However, I've seen the other side, the businesses that do it once, do it right. They've got consistency of information, and they've got what I really call professional standards. The play is looking after, I think, admin staff, because admin staff really struggle to set up a client well if they haven't got all the data.
Mm-hmm.
And then really looking after your client's time. Like, there's no easier way, in my opinion, to annoy a client than ask for, their tax file data and then ask for it again because you forgot to ask about the trusts, tax information or ABN or name, whatever it is. So I've seen a big split. There are definitely some things in the middle, but if I'm looking at professionalism, I think it's important to, like, the more you can make it consistent experience, the better.
And consistent for the admin team. Like, if you can imagine you've got a few different partners and they're all doing a little bit different, they've got to work out, oh, he does it this way, he does it this way. But if they just go, this is the way, away you go. So yeah, that's the idea.
And the other one I'm noticing here is, for Seamlss, we're going to talk about integrations and, how the data populates in Seamlss, then pushes to XPM. I've seen so many typos in onboarding information that can just lead to, like, negative experiences down the track. So, if someone's typing in an ABN, they type that in wrong. If they're typing in a client name, they type that in wrong as well. And email addresses and all these types of things. So, like, one of the biggest moves I've seen in the world, and I always try to say to accounting firms, if an app can do something a person can do manually, dear Lord, do it. Because not only are you saving time, but you're increasing the accuracy. Because that, on the other end, you do a set of financial statements, or you're doing a validation in the Xero tax return and it doesn't validate because you've typed in the address wrong or something like that.
And we're doing a lot of validation on those points. So that's where it leads out, is that the data you're collecting from go to the end. Like at my firm, we don't key in the client's name or email because they've booked in with Calendly, and that's flowed right through to the tax return. So, yeah.
And that's quite interesting, like what does Seamlss do, I think, on this graph. So, for anyone that's like a new user, Seamlss, like you've got leads in there, which is true. Like you can manage your leads, so you don't have to use my whiteboard, which is just down there from me. But we're only a 10 people business, so. But Seamlss helps you onboard and verify, and it helps you re-engage. But there's something Clayton will show today, which is about how to use Seamlss to create the meetings for the clients. And that's something I didn't know until this week. You can send a link, you can automate that process. And that to me just makes a very smooth client experience, and also stops the delay in me. If I'm a partner and I have to send out a meeting request to a client, I might miss that for the next 2 weeks. So having that automated in the system really improves like your start of the client delivery
journey. Yep, agreed. I think we'll move on then and get into the first step of setting up Seamlss. So this is a bit of a workshop. So I'll try and run through the Seamlss setup process for everyone. Hopefully you can still see my screen.
Yep.
If you want to get to this screen, you can just go to seamlss.com.au and click on the get started. Start for free. You'll end up on the same screen. I'm going to just call it example advisory. You'll see that I've already pre-populated this before to try and make our life a little bit easier. Seamlss here as well. Copy. Just to try and speed today up so that we can not rush through it, but get it done quickly.
Excellent.
I agree.
And you cannot underestimate the sign in with Xero button. So Seamlss is a connected app. Signing in with Xero just means you don't have to remember a password. I mean, you can always have one as well, but
yes,
like sign in with Xero is such a win for me on making that go smooth. Clayton, I know it's not here to sell this, but I also like people on the webinar. You'll notice that the UI, I think, is pretty easy. Like it's a very intuitive UI. Like I've worked with a lot of tech products that make my eye twitch, trying to get onboarded and trying to use it. I think this is because the UI is so good, you've got a reasonably low training experience. It's pretty easy for people to get in, to use the product, to figure out what they need to do. It's not as complex as, say, XPM, doing a bill out of XPM is, which we all know is, a little bit of a niche piece of work now and then.
Yes, agreed. Hopefully I can make this work well today. Oh.
Nice. And I'll drop it.
I'm winning.
You're doing great, man. Like, maybe ask me what your password is. I'm kidding. I'll ask in the call. Could anyone on the chat tell me what practice management system you guys are on? We, as a business, are on Xero projects because we don't do accounts and tax returns. Are there any XPM? Are there any CCH users? Are there any MyOb AE users? XPM, excellent. I quietly love a free product as well. Xero Tax, I think, is fantastic. Be interested if there's any APS users.
Maybe I should have deleted out all my saved passwords.
That's right. So if you are an XPM user, yeah, well done.
Yeah.
I'll finish that sentence. If you are an XPM user, the data from Seamlss pre-populates your clients inside XPM, which is quite handy.
Yes.
Oh, Ellie, thinking about moving to XPM in the new year. Do it.
Definitely.
It's such a win. You'll love the tax product.
Yep. So this is just setting up Seamlss. It's not super difficult. Put in your basic firm details. Put in your name, email, things like that. Drop your logo in. Just drop it in from over here. There's my logo. We'll replace that. I'll replace this one, and I'll replace this one.
So easy question: why on earth have you got so many logos?
They go in different areas. So one will go on a document. One goes in your branding in your corner for when your client lands on it. You've also got an engagement letter logo. So some people, you've got a longer, wider, full width document along the top, so you can have a full width sort of engagement letter, like, what do you call it? Letterhead, a letterhead. So you have to put your letterhead in there. So it just depends on how you structure your
excellent.
What do you call that thing?
Branding, logo, visuals,
logo,
all that type of stuff. Yeah.
Allows you to customize all that, and then that's obviously what it'll look like.
Yeah, I like the brand preview there. That's good. Cool.
Makes it a lot easier to follow on. From this point of view, with this setup, like the bank BSB details, I recommend them to be on. You use it for ID checks, and you can also, you need it for all the tax returns.
And is that client bank details?
Yes, for every entity. So it just means that they have to enter them in. If they don't, then you're just missing out.
And I mean, helpful for FIFA and refund, but also like, double checking the Xero file if their business file. It's always good to have a BSB and account number.
Well, you need it to lodge a tax return and get refunds and stuff. So to me, it's a no-brainer.
But I mean, that depends if you're getting the refunds to. Oh no, you need to pump it into XPM so they can get it. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Look, I'd be surprised if there's not accountants out there that'll, just like me, where the client's getting a BAS refund or a tax refund on one of their entities, and at no point did we ever think, oh, we need their bank details. You have to ring the client.
Yeah.
You just had it from the start. Like, they've got an entity, they've probably got bank details. So
correct.
This is the bookkeeper part where if you turn that on, it just means that it'll never ask for TFNs in the app. So you can definitely turn that on. Nice. I'll just save that. Integration wise, so this is the Zapier connection part. There is a little guide here where it tells you how to connect it up. So from my case, in my firm, we use Calendly. So the Calendly data feeds straight in as leads. Connecting up XPM, just push the button. It'll say connect to XPM. You connect it and away you go. I'll just show you what it looks like.
And tell us what goes into XPM at a high level. Obviously, like client names, but are you setting up
names and entities?
Excellent. What about groups?
Not yet. Cool. Daniel's job over the holidays is to change some stuff up and make that happen very soon.
Excellent. So effectively, what you're doing is you're collecting the client data and you're opening the client inside of XPM with ABN, tax file numbers, etc. Are you going as deep as like contacts and email addresses?
Yeah, some of that goes through as well. I'll show you that in a second when we onboard a client.
Brilliant.
So Ignition, you can generate an Ignition link, and basically what that means is this can go inside your Ignition proposals, and they can click on that, and then they can start onboarding themselves. And then if you use Logit, you can export your data and put it into Logit. If you got Dropbox, you can sync it to Dropbox, and the files will automatically drop in Dropbox.
And aren't you a competitor to Ignition, but you connect to Ignition? Tell us that story.
Not really. Some people will think that we're like Ignition, but we're not in the same. Like Ignition does proposals, they collect money, and they create jobs in XPM. So they're the bigger differentiators. We don't do that. The only thing that's the same is we sign terms and conditions, and they have terms and conditions or engagement letter. Yep. That's the only crossover. So we collect all your clients' details, all the data, and then you get an engagement letter. So it just depends on how your business operates, whether you onboard before or after Ignition. You do a deep dive of data collection to see if they're a good fit, do they have lots of tax debts, and then we send a proposal, or
Excellent. So it's cool, like that Ignition connection. Effectively, you can use Ignition for your, to create a proposal and to, we all know Ignition can kind of make, well, we don't all know, but like Ignition can make the job in XPM. It can also send the invoice to the client, and it's got their collection details.
Yep.
But then, after you've done the proposal, you really want to go collecting that data from Ignition. So it's kind of like Ignition first and then Seamlss second. Would that be fair?
Usually. So in my firm, we'll have a meeting from the lead, do a bit of an information collecting session in that, work out a proposal, send the ignition proposal, they'll accept that. Then we do a seamless onboarding. Some firms, my hole's a little bit bigger for people to jump through. Some people it's really small. So the client's got to work hard. So they'll fully onboard the client. They want to see their tax portals, everything, then create the proposal. So it's either on board before or after ignition. Just depends on how your firm.
Yep. And if
that price.
And if you're not an ignition firm, you can start with your lead in Seamlss, send out your proposal from Seamlss, open your job in XPM yourself, and you're away.
Yeah. Look, if you not a lot of people don't use ignition, you can use Seamlss to collect and onboard and do all that, and use Xero to do quotes and invoicing. You use pinch payments. There are other things that you can utilize out there. If some firms bill on time, like everyone's different. So we try and work as best as we can for that. I'll just go back to the setup screen. I got through a fair bit of that. Hopefully you're following along. You can customize your communication messages. So here's the communication messages. You can edit them to your phone, your firm's tone. We've already got some good templates in there. You can use them. You can make them your own. Here is my engagement letter example. So the idea is that every firm's got their own engagement letter. You should. A lot of people ask for templates. I'm thinking about putting some templates in there. I'm just not sure that we should be providing them, but I'm thinking people want them, so we might have to do it. But basically, everyone should already have their own engagement letter, so copy and paste it in. We've now got tables and things like that. You can add links. You can edit the look, so you can make it look like your own firms and however you want.
And mate, the thing I love about this one is we all know the weaknesses of Microsoft Word. So the fact they're actually building inside the system and not having like tables flipping onto separate pages, like I like this as a setup. Yeah, I think this is the right play.
You can. The idea is a few firms have asked for tables, so we've now got that in there. The idea is that you can have multiple templates as well, so you can have many engagement letters. You don't have to just have one. So some firms have got an audited engagement letter. Some have got, you might just have a basic tax return engagement letter. So it depends on what client you're engaging, might dictate the engagement letter. I recommend one. That way it covers you for everything. With the setup, we're pretty much done. Add yourself as a client and 2FA. So just go in here and add, get your account, two-factor authentication, add the app, away you go, and then you've got your 2FA.
Are you a Google 2FA or Microsoft or both? What's your play?
I am Google.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Now,
I do love Google's more than Microsoft. Well, everyone does, I think, really.
100%, 100%. So that's how quick and easy you can set yourself up with Seamlss. If you need help, reach out. We're about to also look at doing a white label, white glove onboarding option for people to get some training and things like that one-on-one. They can obviously also engage people like Tyler to do things like that, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, we love kind of helping accounting firms in any part of their cycle. We're doing a payroll install at the moment for an accounting firm, but we're also doing practice management and all that fun as well.
Awesome. And that's the whole idea is that you want people that can help guide you through that process to make sure you've got a good system and process for you, your team, and most of all your clients. So we'll jump into leads. I think leads are super important. Most firms don't track leads very well, if at all. Do you agree?
Mate, I asked a 60 people accounting firm the other day how they track their leads. And I was like, do you have a whiteboard? Do you have like a document? They were like, we just email. They just have a email folder and using the inbox.
Oh, wow.
Right? And I'm talking like, almost a $10 million business. Right?
That's a lot of leads.
It's a lot of leads. So I cannot express how hard you should manage leads. We should never go, as accounting firms, we shouldn't always be those salespeople that just following up. Do you want to talk about your BAS returns? Because not many people do. But I always kind of find leads need to be managed like dating. Like if you meet someone and you text them back 7 days later, you're probably not going to get date 2. But if you meet them on a Saturday and you text them on a Sunday, how you doing? There's a very good chance you're going to meet. And I think the more we have a little bit of a nudge as accountants to say, hey, don't forget to reach out to Clayton, ask him if he wants a hand with X. that is such a winner to the progress of our business. Like that, all we really need as accountants is just a little bit of an accountability metric. And I think that can take us from, I'd call us natively, I was an average salesperson. And then, with a bit of a process, you can actually become really good.
Yep, agreed. And that's why we've created leads. So this time I'm going to sign in with Xero.
And so talk me through it. Like your leads, they're a standalone product at the moment. And we know that XPM used to have leads installed, but it was a pretty low use kind of function.
Yep.
I used it extensively when I was CFO at a design business. Like we had near on 200 leads in the system at any one stage. And it was okay, cheap and cheerful. But tell us why you built it, and overall, like what's the win here for accountants?
There's a couple of wins. The reason we built it is the exact reason. Most firms have no process. I didn't have much of a process. We did it very poorly. We were pulling leads into this area here on Seamlss. This is a very simple, basic look at the dashboard, and from here you can onboard a client, but that's about it. This is not the main lead dashboard. This is just a sort of snapshot view of the latest leads within your firm. If I click on the lead dashboard, but that's where the power comes in. Is that the lead links is my favorite part of what Daniel built early on in Seamlss, is that you can collect that lead and import it straight into Seamlss. The thing you can do now is send out forms and triage them, and you can automate a bit of that process. So in the sense where you sort of are unsure whether they're a good fit, if you, like you said, if you meet them on a Saturday night, you can actually have your own lead link that you fill in, put their details in, hit submit, they'll get an email straight away. In that email, they'll click on the link and they'll fill out your triage. So depending on that process that you want them to flow through, will be all fairly simplified.
And explain to me, you use the word triage, right? Like that brings me back to hospitals. What does a triage email to a client look like from a lead, right? So I'm the client, we have a chat at a conference tonight, and then you shoot me an email. Like what does that look like for me as the potential client?
I think that depends on how you add the lead in. We'll go through a couple of different processes on that, but I'll show you there's two ways to do it. If you just manually added the lead, you can put their details in here, put in some descriptions of how you've met them, are they high priority or what, maybe what they're worth, things like that. So you can kind of have those basic details around the lead, where they come from. You can add some tags, you get a status in, most of them are going to be pending, and you can assign them to different partners and managers and things like that within your firm. And then you can add the lead. So that's one way to add a lead. But then from adding the lead, it's like you said, how are you going to triage them? So if I've just added them manually, like you do to your spreadsheet or whatever, within Seamlss, you can send them a form. So from here, I could be sending them a lead form. So I could just go new client form, add it, put in some messages, send them an email, and then they click on the form, and then they fill it out, and that's your triaging process. It's just to say, is this person a good fit? Are they a tire kicker? Are they a dickhead? Do we want them to leave? Like, if they seem like your kind of person, you get on the phone to them.
Yeah, and what are we asking in that email? And I know you can set it up as it is, right? But typically at the start of a lead process, you want to be able to explain value quickly. You want to be able to explain why, you're a reliable accountant, you get, your tax lodged on time. You want to explain a little bit about you, but what are you typically asking people in those lead triage emails? What's an example there that people would want to see?
Anything you want. I've created templates that firms can use. And then for me, it's, what size is the business? What's your turnover? How many employees? Are you on Xero? What are your hopes and dreams? What do you want to achieve? So that I can see that they're actually in business for the right reasons. So I've built the triage form sort of for me, but you can obviously edit it to your firm and how you guys work. And I think that's the key aspects of what you're asking. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and so effectively you're making it to start the conversation. In our business, we don't really work with startups. Like, we're usually a little bit probably too expensive for a startup, right? So if someone comes in and I'm a $200,000 a year doctor and they want their BAS return done, I'm like, we're not BAS agents. However, somewhere else. So you're doing a bit of qualifying, but
Yep.
then, you know, I think you've also talked there about Calendly. So, you know, if someone, you know, wants to book a meeting, you can automatically generate an email out from Seamlss and give them a Calendly link so they can jump in and book it with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'll go back. We'll log out. So I'm in the same. Say, imagine this is your. My
Fine.
Business Edge website has this same flow for Edge A. I'm not going to use my Business Edge website, but basically, Business Edge is obviously a bit more set up for it. But basically, the client books a meeting, and then they pick the meeting they want, and then they'll flow this same flow. But I built one for today for demonstration purposes. So this is your business's new landing page. They want to. You sort of said, "Oh, are they looking for you as their right kind of person?"
So is Seamlss built? You can build Seamlss into your business website.
This is the link. So the link that I created here,
Yeah.
if I edit this link, I can, that's my own personal custom link for Business Edge or your firm. You can give it a link name, some description, and then you can add one or many forms.
Perfect. So effectively, you send the email out. It's got a Seamlss link with an individual identifier to you as a company, and then my client goes in and clicks on it, and they see the Seamless logo, but it's Seamless logo under the bank counter.
No, this will be your logo.
This
So
will
when
be
they click here, that will be your logo.
Excellent.
So
Cool.
you can have this link in an email, on Facebook, anywhere, and you can create one or many links. So you can see that I've got a few already built out. The idea with the tax planning one is just collecting some of that tax planning meeting information. But in this case, we're going to do a new client onboarding experience. Clayton Wood. I'm going to use my Gmail one again. I'll use a different alias this time. Hopefully that's enough numbers. Nope.
Nice.
Not enough numbers.
So you're a client. We're in here. We're doing a form. Yeah, we've dropped in. You're trying to do a phone number. You got one too many, I think.
Too many numbers.
Yeah.
So the two different things is that we're going to verify the email is true because they've come from the website to here. If you're in the lead list from here and just sent them the email form, they'll just click on the email and start filling out the form. But we want to get some sort of verification that it's a legit person. And that's what we're doing here. So now I'm back in. I'm
a client. This is what a client sees.
Fine. I filled it out. Here's my lead form. I'm going to start the process and then I'm going to start answering the lead questions.
So it's online. I do my name, my email address. It sends the client an email. So it's like it's almost like a click here if you're not a robot, which funnily enough, robots ask us to do. And then they go to the form. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And they fill all that.
These are customizable fields. We can ask them any questions we want.
And you try to triage them. So I know another firm on the call, they were ringing to triage the client to see whether they could get a booking with the partner. So they can triage them in Seamlss before they even worry about the phone call. If they seem like a tiger, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So now that's all saved. And then from this point, you can have any link you want here. So that's what I was talking about. Like you can send them to Stripe and pay you a bill. You could send them to watch a video, download a white paper, anything you want from that lead process. So if they're on your website and you're offering a white paper, they can jump through those hoops, you can qualify them and then give them their white paper. So the idea was to have an outcome at the end of it as well. So in this case, in my firm, they're prospecting from my website, filling out the form of triaging them so they can have a meeting with me, and then they're going to schedule a meeting on Calendly. In this case, I'm using it for Seamlss, so you can book a demo with this guy.
Nice.
But that's just an example of the flow that you might let the clients go through. So on the flip side, you might go Calendly, send them the lead link, and then they fill out the triage process. I chose not to do that because I find what happens is they don't fill the bloody form out. They get to the meeting and they're like, they haven't filled it out. Whereas if I can force them to fill the form out, then book the meeting, I've got the data I need before they have the meeting.
Yeah, I like that. You're effectively just managing through a lead process, you know, and I'm guessing, can we have multiple templates? Because that one you showed me was quite big, right? So that might be a big, large client. I can have one that I just want to get their name, their email address, and maybe their company and company turnover or something. Company turnover, and emails.
Yep.
I can give them a short and dirty one.
Yeah, anything you want. So
how many have you got like in your business? Like how many lead form send outs? Oh, sure.
We just use one in Business Edge. Yeah. These are all the ones that we're going to push to Seamlss you can grab, but you can obviously preview them, add them, and then you can edit them, delete them, shift the questions around, do whatever you want.
So it's like drag and drop options, and that's cool.
Go find one. This one.
Because I think the customization, okay, cool. You've got drag and drops.
You can delete the form, you can duplicate the form, cool. All that sort of stuff. But the idea is that I want you to have some templates so you can go, I've got some ideas from this.
Love it.
Just being honest, unfortunately, a lot of firms don't have any of this stuff already. They're just not doing it. So
I have ticks, circles, and crosses next to my leads on the whiteboard, right? So like anything here is an uptick. Maybe I should use.
And I like your idea of going, here's a short and sharp one. So imagine if you're in a meeting, like you said, Saturday night, you put the details in, you send them the form on the email, they'll click on the link in the email on the Sunday morning, they'll start filling it out. It might be just a couple of questions, but it's enough for you to go, do I want to work with them or not? Yeah. And then from that point, you can either send them another form to dig deeper, or you can
have a meeting. And now tell me what happens from leads, right? So I've sent out the form. Let's say pretend I'm the managing partner of a 50 people business and I've got 6 partners that work with me, right? Yep. I'm the managing partner. What do I do? Like I've already got my leads in the system. I'm making sure, my partners and some of our senior managers are dropping this data in. Yep. Give me a look at how I can manage my business to make sure we're doing our sales process right.
That's where you can view your leads, won, lost, or pending as well. So depending on where they're at in the cycle, so you can manage what you're viewing on the screen from here, or you can just hit reset to show them all. Yeah. You can add actions as well. So who did what, where, and when.
Nice. Those are just like client notes kind of thing.
Yeah, client notes. Yeah. And the goal with that, as you can see, there's a bit more to it, but my goal with this is to assign it to people, and this will be a list of users in Seamlss, and then send them reminders and things. So not right now, but we've definitely got future plans to make that process.
Let's talk through that, right? So like, I'm reviewing let's go to pending dashboards, right? Because I know we've got one in there, which is quite cool. So we've got a few, right? So let's say I've got over a couple partners, and we've got those dates. Obviously, you've got filtering and sorting by date, which I think is really, really good. You're talking about so at the moment, this is a process where we go in and review it, and then we manually track it. But down the track, you're going to send notifications and stuff.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, everything, like we only just released this a month and a half ago. Yeah. So people are constantly giving us requests and updates, and we're trying our best to manage them all. But definitely there's more to come with leads, because you just need to be able to do a little bit more with them. So.
Yeah, and I can tell you for our old design business that used XPM leads, Workflow Max leads, which were the same. I was publishing those into Power BI and then Power BI roboting, snipping those every Monday morning at 11 o'clock. So this is good.
So you were sort of creating reports, whereas what we've done is trying to make it so you're just turning things on and off to display. But you were running reports to get these displays to happen. Is that right?
Yeah, because the leads in Workflow Max and XPM, they just didn't have a nice table like this for me to use. Like, I love XPM as a product, but its reporting honestly is pretty average. Yeah, it's clunky is the right way. So like the more apps I have on top of XPM that can show me like a bit of a dashboard, I built graphs and all this type of thing, won, lost, pilot, win-loss percentage. I don't really care about that as an accountant. All I really care about is what do I need to do today? And so for me, having like a lead dashboard where I can come in, check out my pending leads, and I've got my due date, I've got my estimated amount. Can I upload documents against here if I've sent them like proposals or anything? Like what can I do against the lead?
You can't add documents yet. But the documents that they submit to a lead form will be displayed here.
Excellent, excellent. I mean, I've always got a client lead folder in our OneDrive anyhow, so it doesn't matter. Cool,
Yep.
love it. I mean,
So
that's nice.
sorry?
That's nice. So effectively, you've got a lead. No, I'm guessing we're going to win it, right?
Well, the idea was a process. You've gone from no process to actually having something to manage your leads, track them, send them reminders, triage them. I mean, realistically, I don't know, bigger firms, do they hold on to a lead for 12, 18 months, or do at some point you just go, oh, we haven't heard from this guy in a month, we'll archive him?
Man, I never say never, right? We all know those people we met 4 years ago that we're just waiting for they're waiting for their tax accountant to screw something up. So
yeah. Well, I guess that on the flip side, if you didn't like that outcome or that phone call or that meeting, you could definitely archive them.
Yep.
But hopefully you've won them, and then you're going to review and onboard them.
Yep.
And then you just go through and add the details, add their entities and stuff like that. And I'll go through that process in a second. So yeah, you can build any forms, you can pull that into the lead links. I really want people to understand that you can have as many lead links as you want. So like, I feel like you can have some for your website, you can have some for your email. And like you said, like if you're meeting someone on a Saturday night and you were like, oh, this is a good lead, I'll put them in there. You can either send them an email there and then, or you could send them one on Monday morning.
Give me next, man. So like, all right, I've got my lead in. Now I want to onboard this client. Let's rock and roll.
Did the leads demo. So we're going to onboard.
Now, are leads and onboarding aren't yet connected at the moment, are they? Or they are?
Yeah. What do you mean?
So if I've got a lead, I can onboard from that lead, right? I can win it and onboard it from that lead?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Sorry. So from here, in the list, and I want to onboard Clayton the lead.
And I know you took that for granted, right? Like that, of course we built that, but it's also a very important function. Like, that people know they can get that lead, all that data now turns into an onboarding form because it's already pre-populated.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Just want to get my next screen. Yeah.
Cool.
So if a lot of firms don't do leads, and they might not want to keep doing leads, and that is fine. If you're just using Seamlss, you can just click add client. That's one thing I want people to know. You can go from a lead and you can get this screen and add them as a client from a lead. But if you're not, and you just want to add them as a client, you can just add them as a client. So if I put my details in here,
so it's not a lead. They call me up. They're like, Tyler, dear Lord, do my tax return and start tomorrow. I'm not doing a lead. I'm just I'm straight onboarding straight away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool, mate. I will send you I'll send you an email to pre-populate your details now. I'm jumping into the client. I'm clicking on onboarding. I'm filling out what I know, name, email address, and then I'm away.
As much as I want people to change and do leads, it's a lot for partners to sometimes change that process. They love pens and pads and they scribble notes.
But it also happens, man. Like you get people that call you up and say, I've got 5 days, so we've got to be able to adapt. There's something I want to talk here about. You talked a lot about a Stripe integration. Right. Now, Stripe, in most of our circumstances for accountants, we're thinking payment platforms.
Right.
However, you're using Stripe differently. So before you get down to identity verification, talk me through what your integration in Stripe looks like.
So it's the Stripe identity. So I'll show you the outcome from a DVS identity check. I can't demonstrate it because we're using the camera. We've tried so many times. It doesn't allow you to use the camera twice with 2 apps. But basically, in the app, the client will onboard and they can either do it on the computer, or if the camera is not good enough, it'll give them a QR code and they scan it with their phone, and then they just complete the ID check on their phone. But it's within all of the Seamlss apps. So it's not like they're going to different apps and stuff. The only change will be is if to be honest, most clients do it on their phone anyway. So they're already on their phone. They're just going through the process and they do their ID check. It takes a photo of them. It takes a photo of their ID and does some validation, some biometric checks.
And tell me, like, I'm sure if there's anyone on the call right now, like who, isn't doing ID checks, like, Clayton, give me the one sentence on why we need to do ID checks as tax agents now.
Because the TPD requires you to. No, fraud. Like, a lot of us are working online, so you just don't know who's coming towards you in that regard. If you're
Yep.
only dealing with them digitally, sometimes in person people have fake stuff. So.
Yeah, and if anyone hasn't seen it, there's verification methods listed in on the ATO website. But I think you're talking to the TPB from you've got it up. Yeah, the strong verification is important, right? So making sure like we know the ID and we've got background checks. Well, not background checks, but
we don't have to do that
yet.
Yeah. But with the AML is coming, and we will be definitely rolling that out when it comes. That just passed that legislation the other week. But the one thing I want you to note with this is that it does say source ATO and a DVS check. So some apps will just do the DVS check, so they're relying on you to do the source.
What does DVS mean?
Digital verification service. So that's like a Stripe ID check. So you can use a visual and a source. It does say and. So I want you to note that it says and, not or maybe. You need to do minimum of 2 and a DVS check. So that's the best.
If I say that in my dumbest language, like if you're doing my personal tax return, Clayton, my 2 ATO ones might be a notice of assessment for 2 years, right? 2 years of notice of assessments, right? And the DVS, which would be my Stripe.
So there's a list on this website down further here. I think it's on here somewhere. It's on our help drive, on our help guide, where it says the items you can use to do source ID checks. And at the end of the day, the requirement is you need to be reasonably sure they are who they say they are. The TBD and the ATO don't say, here, do this. It says you need to be reasonably sure you're dealing with people who they are, who they say they are. So the benefit of Seamlss is that you can do a verification check. And if you're not happy with them, send them another one. Send me your driver's license, send me your passport, send me your Medicare card. You can keep asking for more documents, especially handy if they're working for another business. So Tyler's not a client, but he works on behalf of bank counters. How do I verify that? Send me your company information. Send me a letter from the organization saying that you are a representative of that organization.
Yeah,
you can do that with Seamlss.
Let's keep rolling. So we've got name, we've got identity verification. And the cool thing about using Stripe is it means you're not, as a business, housing people's passport photos or that. They're all kind of contained in Stripe, which is a win.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think, can you see the drop down?
Yep.
Select all the different entities that go into Xero, give them different names and things like that. So I've just got Clayton and his cookie company. I will add a fetch form for today. We'll just add something simple. Do the BAS document. Maybe you might send a new client form in this case if you don't have a lead process. So maybe we'll send them a new client form as well, just as a quick example for today. We do have an ITR tool. The ITR tool allows you to collect tax return information. If they're a current client, you can upload the pre-fill and they can check and confirm that. I'll give a demo of that in a minute. And then obviously you can select your engagement letter. So I'm going to add this client. There it goes, we're away. So I'm going to switch to my Firefox example. Here's my email. It's all pretty much instantaneous. This isn't preloaded or anything. This is doing this live. So if it breaks, it's breaking for reals. Here's my code. So I'm going to get started. I'm now in the client mode. So the client's got an email. You can change this text. They get started, and then they get the code. Goes to the SMS. So it's all two-factor authentication. Nice. We don't send out any secure link or magic link only. It requires two-factor authentication. People need to be logging in securely, and that's one of the key factors of Seamlss. We do have a lot of required items here that you can see. Again, this is all the information you need to go on the front cover of the tax return.
Yeah.
For that, I'm going to use the same address. TFNs are validated, so if someone puts in a fake TFN, it won't work. Director IDs, they need to be 10 digits. Bank account details, bank BSBs are all validated.
Yeah. So I'm still a client. This is okay. So you've got a full flow of processes there of what the client needs to go through. So this is actually very similar to Employment Hero when they do onboarding of new users. So it's really good.
Yeah.
You can't cheat the process. You've actually got to go all the way through to finish. What happens if someone stops halfway through, and can they come back? Have they got a save option?
Yeah, so you can save down here.
Awesome.
And then there's also a check screen. And when they click on the link and log back in, it'll take them back to this screen as well.
Brilliant. Love it.
A few different ways to get back in. If you just noticed, it does look it up on ABR lookup. So they can find their entity on ABR lookup. You do the same with ABN, they can look it up. It'll pull through the ACN, the ABN, the state and addresses. You can just use the address you've got. I'm going to use the same. Again, it'll validate a TFN because we want valid TFNs. Sometimes you get a trading company, so they could mark it as a non-trading entity. That means it'll not required. You might notice over here, it's not required. If it's a trustee company, am I still going? Did I freeze or? Hello? Hello?
I can hear you.
I'm still here. Tyler's dead.
It's
This is just Tyler. Sorry.
I think he's frozen.
Okay, it's just Tyler. Maybe someone will let Tyler back in a second. I'll keep going then. But basically, the bank details will go in the same as we discussed before. You really want the entity to have bank details in there. This is the data collection point. So if you are onboarding a client, you might want to collect their trust deeds, company deeds, whatever it is you need as you're onboarding that client. Everybody's process is a little bit different. So you can customize these forms to suit your firm. I'm just going to keep going through this for onboarding. Do I add that twice? It's got a required field. Oh, why is it doing it? Broken the internet. What have I done? Leave X. That's broken it, Daniel. What went wrong? Normally the client would just keep going. Clearly I've sent the wrong file here. And then they get to the verification check, which I wanted to get to. Winning. Beauty of this is that we can cancel requests and send new ones. So in this case, there's the ID checks. I can send a new ID check, create, send, show that again. Here it is here. Here's all the other requests. So the proof of ID, there is a list here for the clients that they can fill in. So driver's license, government ID cards, things that you can check against what the ATO is suggesting. It could be something as simple as the notice of assessment, something like that that the client's got. It's not going to allow me to continue on, is it? Here's my dodgy looking ID. Browse that one. Continue on. And then I'm going to finish. Unfortunately, I've lost the engagement letter for today. Tyler's back.
Yeah, man. Google Chrome just crashed for the first time ever in my life. So well done.
I think a win for the day.
Yeah.
So I tried to continue on, it crashed for me too. So I'm not sure how I broke it, but I broke it. I managed to do a good job. So if you've onboarded the client, so go through the process quickly. The admin team, with some luck, the client's filled in their details on either Zapier or Calendly or something like that. It's come in, you've triaged the lead, you've added them as a client, they've done their ID check, they've uploaded some documents, filled out the details, signed the engagement letter. So here's my 2 ID checks that I've done already. So I did do a DVS with Stripe earlier, just to demonstrate the back end of Stripe. I can't do Stripe in a live environment like this, but we will go through the ID check. So imagine this is DVS guy's just been onboarded. First thing you do, the admin team will add them to the ATO portal, review the identity check. Now you'll see that here is what I did earlier. It's actually striped saying it's unverified. Didn't work. Document's invalid. If you actually want to look at the file, I took a photo of a dodged up license on the screen. It's clearly fake, and it should be fake.
Nice.
You can view the files a bit more deeper if you want. But yeah, all the data, all the date of birth, everything's fake. So that's why it's not verified.
So the onboarding automatically creates it in XPM, but effectively gives your team all the data they need to get going on the ATO as well.
Yeah, 100%. So the process should be is that you've come to Seamlss, you've added to the ATO portal, you do your verification check. So right here, Stripe's telling me that this is dodgy. So
love it.
They're not going to mark them as verified. They're just going to can them as clients. Here's my other document. So go, yeah, cool. I'm happy with this note of assessment. That matches what the client said. What they send me? They send me the note of assessment. They send it electronically, and the document is good. I'm going to delete it.
And you're storing these documents in Seamlss for love it.
And we only do it for 7 days.
Brilliant.
So one thing that people will notice is that we delete the document, and you should delete it as well. I do know of a couple of apps out there that do save it to PDF, and they do link it to PDF, and it stays around forever. That is something I don't recommend at all.
I can't express enough how much as accountants we do not need to keep credit card detail numbers, people's driver's license, people's passports.
100%.
Yeah,
so
brilliant.
You've got 7 days. If you don't do it in 7 days, we delete it.
Cool.
You do get a notification say someone's done an ID check, so you can go in and verify them. Here, you can't see the entities because I didn't have an entity for this guy. The documents, they'll all be there. You can generate the files. They'll save to Dropbox. The forms they fill out will be here. I'll show you an example on this screen. So there'll be more. So in my example case, say we've onboarded the entity, you can edit the information and give them like a red carpet rollout, like fill in some of the details for them if you know them. You can also, there's all the forms, all the information they filled out, all of the answers.
Do I need to do this, or can I just get rocking and can I just go into XPM, open my client and get going?
Yeah, so basically normally the admin team would just add them to the portal, verify them, and then push the data to XPM. So you just push to XPM here, and then you get started. The files will save to Dropbox, and you can continue on. Hopefully in a month, the same will be with FYI docs, because a lot of firms out there use FYI docs. So right now it's looking up my XPM, single source of truth. So it's sort of saying, is this Clayton? It's a match. It's got a user ID already linked, because I've done this before. You can do nothing. You can pull or you can push data to XPM. So you can go both ways, but you control it. We don't do a full sync like other apps and then you get duplicates. That was the one thing I wanted to avoid, is that someone was controlling the data. Because usually if the client's messed it up, you don't want them to have that power. Sync and merge takes all of 2 seconds, and you can view them in XPM and you can get going.
Yeah, that's super smart. I like that. Duplicates are just the time waste of the accounting industry. Well played. Yep. Cool. And so you've got, you go.
Yeah, and you got the companies, trusts, all that sort of stuff. The only thing you can't see here is it'll actually search. So it'll try and do matches on ABNs and emails and all business names, TFNs, things like that, to try and match it up to your XPM so that you're not duplicating it, and you can sync them and you can do it again next year.
Brilliant.
There's a few questions there, but we'll come back to them. You got any we need to answer?
No, I reckon we're good.
Yes, it'll say all the files and forms and things. Yes.
Yeah, the FYI docs link is nice. It's not going to obviously save the driver's license and confidential stuff, but like Clayton, if the onboarding forms, does that turn it into a PDF and drop it into FYI? Like, really?
So there'll be.
I swear that wasn't a setup question, so it's not. Yeah, okay, cool.
There's all the information. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, brilliant. So that auto saves in FYI if I connect it.
We've got to get there yet, but yeah, hopefully in the new year when we roll out FYI. But if it's Dropbox, yes.
Oh yeah, Dropbox,
you would generate it and it'll save in there.
That's cool. So I've effectively got my whole source of truth about what they gave me in document form. Have you got audit? Is it dated and that type of stuff? Like
The
when
documents would be.
yeah,
Yeah, I believe so.
Ah,
Daniel
sweet.
can answer that. But the idea is that you want the data to flow. We've just rolled out Dropbox, so I'm expecting a bit of feedback, and hopefully based on that feedback, we can just make it better and better.
That's awesome.
Hopefully the Dropbox will help improve the FYI integration when it rolls out too. You've got all the requests and all the audit trails there for dates and that as well. So,
All right, what's next? We've talked about leads, we've talked about integrations, we've kind of got a feel for onboarding, and we've done some identity verification. We've opened a client in XPM. Could you go back to that client in XPM for me? Because I think you've got it right. So I'm pulling through. If you had partner and manager there, I think you had that in the system as well.
Yeah, it's
onboarding.
coming. That's the bit that Daniel's going to do on his Christmas break. No pressure.
All right, my text file's pre-populated. I've got names and emails. I've got addresses. Groups are coming. That's cool. Okay, cool. So I've got a live client, and then all I need to do is go add a job, add a tax return. If I'm not using jobs, then I'm away.
Yep.
I'm in full use.
And you can obviously sync it and update it. So the one thing that lots of accountants, and I was the same before Seamlss, is we didn't have much of a process around the job, pre-job management, I guess you could call it. So
yep.
I don't know you, but we were just like, oh, the client dropped the shit off, let's do the job. That's generally what happened. Sometimes someone would, can you drop your stuff off? You might call them in, but there's no process so much.
I mean, everyone has everything, which is the worst part of an accounting firm.
Or nothing.
Yeah. So I mean, this really gets our process flow. Can we, as our last one, to do re-engaging? Because I think that's such a cool part of the system, right? So we're onboarded, and then we want to. The cool thing about Seamlss is you want to do another engagement, or you're doing a special project, or it's another year and we want to do another data capture, because we all know those clients that go buy 3 more businesses, or they're, especially if you've got trusts and you've got beneficiaries and all that type of stuff, it's good to re-engage. So let's talk on that one.
And I think that's what I was trying to get at, is like having that process. So I know for Business Edge, we are now tracking at like nearly 60% lodgements. And that's miles ahead of last year. We are miles ahead. And I think that's purely because of the Seamlss implementation.
What does that mean? So are you talking to your May deadline? You're saying you're 60% there? Okay.
Yeah.
So in December, that's pretty well ahead. That's good.
Yep. I think we're, I don't know, it's less on the call, but we're a long way ahead of last year. I'm feeling a lot more comfortable in not going, oh, we're going to get all this stuff done.
Yeah.
And I think that's purely because of Seamlss. So with the re-engagement, we're sending it out and you're saying, hey, Clayton, can you confirm your details? If he's added a new entity, you can add it on the fly. But the main thing is he's kind of saying, hey, Clayton, can I get your information? Send me your end of financial year information. Maybe it's a rental property. Maybe they've got 5 rental properties. So in this case, there is rental property and it's the beach house. And you can give each rental property a different name. So it could be Main Street, High Street, whatever they are, and the team can give them names. You can use the ITR tool. I can demo that if you want. I think we don't have that much more time. But
there's 2 things here, Clayton, for me. Is one is, are you scheduling and automating these? Because we know we want to send each of these out in August or whenever, right? Like,
you can't schedule them yet. The automation engine, I think it's in the staging area for the development team, so it's not far away.
That's cool.
There is something that's, I think, that I'm going to do differently to automating it, but I'm not sure whether people will like it. And it'll come back to the feedback, and that'll be the self-onboarding.
Yep.
Self-re-engaging. So
I like that. So effectively, we've got a client, we go in, we click re-engage, and we're sending the client a form. And I think that's what's moved you to your 60% now, is because you're starting the process with the client with a very easy, quick process for the accountants. Because that's what delayed me asking my clients, is I needed the hour to think about, to draft the email. And the reason I like this, like FYI has got like tasks and things you can send out to clients, but it's in my opinion, Seamlss is way easier for a client to fill out a form and get it back into the system. I love FYI, Elite for practice management. I love FYI document storage, but I think the process here is the easiest for the accountant and also the client.
It's a 2-factor authentication as well.
Oh yeah, because you got tax file data in there. Yeah.
I mean, we're keeping the data that they're sending, your sensitive data. But then if someone picks up your secure link, off email, which is most likely where it's going to get swiped from, they've got access to all your data or whatever you've put on that link. I just don't like it. So that's why we're back to two-factor. With the re-engaging process though, like I get it, people want to automate it, and we're talking about implementing bulk sending and stuff next year. We just send it all out, and some firms do that. I know in our firm though, like we're calling the jobs in that we think we want to work on. There's always the clients like, oh, I've got to get a loan, I've got to do this. So you're kind of like, oh, okay, Tyler needs his home loan, then we better call his job in early. Like we're still controlling that process, and I think that's probably the crucial part of why we're hitting that target. And then once they go through and they fill it out, if I just flick through here, I can do this in like 2 seconds. So client confirms their details, are they changed? No. No, company's the same. Here's your financial information. Send me your bank account. Send me your loan documents. Oh, you bought a new piece of equipment. Again, you can customize all these questions to whatever you want. Send me your beach house rental property information. They can attach it. They get to this point, they can complete it. Same as onboarding a new client. Maybe they did get that new entity and you are not aware of it. They can add a new entity themselves on the fly. Continue. Here's my engagement letter that we put in with the tables and stuff. It's still got all the red beautifulness to it. We're going to sign it, and then it's done. And then from this is the client view, by the way. That's going to complete and sign it, and then from here they're going to download their own documents.
And if I'm connected to FYI, that engagement letter is automatically going into FYI, or eventually, and then Dropbox that will come through. That's cool.
The client agent linking was one thing that a lot of people struggle with that I didn't touch on before. You left the camera anyway. So from the end of the screen where the clients completed their onboarding, they go to this screen to complete the client agent linking. I love it because most people have already got their MyGov ID, so they're just going to go, yep, I've done my ABN connection, yep, I'll continue on. But if they haven't, it steps them through the process. Go get your MyGov ID, get strong. If they haven't done RAM, it steps them through the process. Here's your ABN, here's your pictures, do it. You've got to trust.
That's awesome. That's the most painful thing, trying to step one of my clients through, like how to get onto their business online is such a pain in the butt. If there's any accountants in tax doing this at the moment, you know how painful authorizing the agent is. I cannot express, dear Lord, just get Seamlss just for this. If you do nothing else but save yourself and your clients 30 minutes every time you engage, or every time you're like onboarding a new client, this is such a win.
I've seen a few people send PDFs, email explanations, checklists, and things like that. This is custom built. That's pulling from Seamlss their business name. It's saying, this is the entity I want you to do it. Like, this is pulling from Seamlss your tax agent details. It's guiding them through the process. The one thing that we do have is that we can confirm that they've done it. So the client gets to the end, they tick the box, and they update the linked entity. That sends you a notification to say, Clayton's done his agent linking. So you've got a feedback loop. Now, where does the feedback loop come in? I'm just going to switch to the firm view and go back into Clayton Wood. He's completed his re-engagement. But it turned out, or onboarding, it turned out he lied. He didn't do his agent linking. So I'm going to unlink him, and then I'm going to send him a reminder. So when I send that reminder, Clayton clicks on the link and takes him straight to the agent linking guide. Or the client's always on board, and then they just don't do it. So you can still send them a reminder, do the agent linking guide. So you've got a bit of a feedback loop there, and that's what I love, is that when they get stuck, you can just send them the guide and step them through the process. I think, what else do we have to go through? That was pretty much it. Question time.
Yeah, they got a really good question from Ellie, which is, and Ellie, I'll ask this, but I think I know what you're saying. Do you take the date signed as the year the engagement's for, thoughts on having task services? So Clayton, if I'm engaging in August, or let's say I'm even better than that, I'm engaging in May, and we know it's for the FY25 year, right? And I want to prescript my 4 BAS returns, 1 FBT return, 1 company return, 1 company tax return, right? I think that's what Ellie's asking, but feel free to go off mute and ask that, Ellie. But I think that's what the play is, how automated we can make that engagement letter. Or it's asking for engagement from a specific date, financial year forward. So, it's
prior. I'm not sure what the not prior means, but I'm guessing like you could use these tokens with date stamps and timestamps and things like that to stick inside your engagement letter. Say from this point, I'm engaging your services. Is that kind of what you meant, Ellie?
Hi. Yeah.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah. So it's just like best practice. I was on an NTAA webinar the other day, and they stated that with all the changes, that in your engagement letter, you should be stating the kind of the financial year that you're engaging from. And particularly if they're coming from an old, like a previous accountant and moving to you, that if you don't state that you're coming over from this date,
gotcha,
be liable for any errors and things before. And they also state that for best practice purposes that you should be listing like the types of services that you are doing, and they should be kind of tailored to the client. So
you want to tailor every engagement letter.
Well, or potentially, I don't know. They just say they said that it's best practices to do that. They also, said that if nothing really changes, then you don't have to do one every year if it's a non-lapsing engagement, but it is, recommended to do them at least every year or every 2 to 3 years. But it was more about the if you're re-engaging every year at the start of a task, so start of a tax return, are we able to customize it by saying that we're engaging you for the completion 25 financial year, etc.
You could definitely template that here. So you could have different yearly templates here for each year. The tokens would allow you to say from that date, from this date forward is when we're engaging our services. You definitely use a lot of those tokens. It also reminds me, it sounds like they want you to do a proposal for every single client almost, and saying this is all we're doing and that's inside the scope and that's it. I think a lot of firms still use time and billing, so it'd be interesting to see how that plays out going forward as to whether you can scope every single session. Don't know. I'm not the expert in engagement letters.
I think it's a really good question. I think the key thing I would do there is I'd have multiple templates. Like we all know the clients that we're lucky enough to onboard in March, right? But Ellie, you've got a really good question there. Like you pick up a client in February and they're like, hey, can you do my March quarter BAS return as well? I do spend a bit of time as a partner making sure that, we don't do tax and compliance, but we sure as hell do start and finish dates of our projects. So I make sure we're really clear about, our start date and what we're owning as well. So I'd consider having open templates, and then I use in my templates like XXX, like highlighted data where I have to go in and fill those in, start dates kind of stuff. It's.
I think that was my question. Is there thoughts in the future to have it that you could
backdate it? Yeah, well, that's cool.
Yeah, add in those points into the engagement letter. Yeah, just if you wanted to make it a bit more specific.
There's definitely more coming with that sort of stuff. Can't say too much, but there's definitely more coming in regards to customizing the engagement template.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful programmer answer, and I love it. Can't say too much, but no, that's good. Because Ellie, at the moment, you've just got a copy paste of your engagement letter, so it's a free text kind of feel. But it'd be really cool. You're effectively, Clayton, you're saying, one day we might be able to have a drop-down box. Our services start from this date for compliance from 1st of Jan 25 on.
I think cool. I like that, and it's the feedback like that where Ellie says, "Oh, I need this." She sends it to Steiny, like Daniel, and he'll go and build it. So, and then to me, what you're asking for is all we need to do is when you add the client or re-engage the client is have a little dropper here where you're selecting the token of engagement.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a great question.
Around here, like based on the changes to TPD and TASA and all that, that's probably what it will need, or just a little bit of it, either adjusting here or adjusting here on the fly or something like that. So there'll definitely be more to come.
And Clayton, could we go back to our front slide of our webinar, and let's just make sure we've kind of covered everything. Keep going back, right? Yeah. So we've kind of like touched on what is Seamlss, right? Where it's a lead management tool. It's a client onboarding tool that's integrated currently to Ignition, Dropbox and XPM with FYI docs coming and Google Drive coming, right?
Google Drive next week, yeah.
Excellent. The goal is to help simplify like a workflow of, communicating with our leads, setting up calendars with our leads, qualifying or triaging our leads to make sure they fit our business and they're not, as you say, tire kickers, and also making sure that onboarding and re-engagement process is good. The integrations, we've talked about one-way, two-way. We're not making duplicates in XPM, which as an ex-practice manager is 2 thumbs up. And the key features. Tell me about the key features that you find spicy that make people love this product.
It's easy for the client to use. So it's all mobile friendly, makes it really easy for them. Most clients and feedback is that they just get it done.
Yeah.
There's minimal touch points for the admin team member. Like seriously, like I hear so often that hours, they spend hours onboarding people. And I'm like, you can just send it all off as Seamlss. The client fills it all in, brings it all back, and the admin team member adds it in the portal and you're done. Like, why is this taking you hours? And then they've literally cut it down because the data is being validated. It's being verified from ABR. Like you're getting good valid data that's going straight into XPM. You're not fluffing it out. It's that validation of good data.
I'll give you the other key features for me. One is Stripe. I love the integration to Stripe. Like I think that's phenomenal. I really like that you play with Ignition, because if you're an Ignition business, that means you've got the best of both worlds. You've got an absolute rock star of a collection and proposal template, but you've also got all your next steps for your clients, because we often engage with a client and then we don't do the next steps fast enough. And that's what I think Seamlss does really well. But the other one for me is you're making it fast for the accountant and admin team to send out requests, and you're making it easy for clients to kind of do their side without too much pain. Like, and I don't get any dollars from this, but like for me, if I was an accounting firm and I wasn't using Seamlss, I would be having a look. There are competitors in the market that do data collection, but I think Seamlss is way more targeted towards accountant and accounting firms and our flows with tax file data and 2FA and those Stripe things. So I think you've got a real niche here, mate.
You're welcome. And the engagement letter ticks it off. At the end of the day, just collecting the data is one thing, but having the engagement letter signed at least gives you authority to act on their behalf, to do the different things, add them to the portal and interact, and you've got the ability to get paid. You're going to go back on. So when someone books in with me to do a tax return, it's already signed off. You said you would pay me. Here's your engagement letter. Whereas a lot of people are doing it on the tail end, or not at all.
Yeah,
not a very good process. So yeah,
excellent. And what about questions? Are there any other questions from the crowd? We've had some really good ones. It's been cool. Ellie, good luck with your XPM install. I hope you're using someone like FGS or Business Continuum. They're really good at making that go smooth. Yeah, FGS is good. Dan's pretty solid on that. Don't hesitate to talk to me if you want to talk financial statement templates. They're my bread and butter.
Fix all that for him.
Excellent.
And I guess if someone from this wants to reach out for you, Tyler, what are they going to reach out for?
Just if anyone wants to reach out, jump on LinkedIn. Send me a message. We help accounting firms change their systems, practice management, HR, payroll. We help them install Wheel. We help them install Seamlss or Dashboard Insights or Ignition. But also we're really sneaky behind the scenes. We do really good Xero tax training, Xero financial statement setups. We've done a couple FYI Elite setups now. We're starting to get into the Cloud Connect world. The last one we didn't cover, Clayton, is tell me how you're pricing Seamlss.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Are we per company? Are we per request? What's our price point? Am I paying 50 million a year?
It's per request. So annually, it's $600 a year or $50 a month, effectively, and that gets you 1,200 requests for the year. So one request could be Clayton, his 5 entities, an engagement letter, and an ID check. If that just goes out, that's one request. Excuse me. If I just send it off and say, give me your rental schedule, that's just one request. So when you send something, that's one request. If it's per monthly, you just want to test it out, it's $60 a month for 100 requests.
Yep.
Most firms, 100 requests is plenty. You can start a trial for free. I went through the setup at the start of this. You can watch that back slowly. There's a whole bunch of help files on
just back on that pricing.
Yep.
If I sign up monthly, can I
Yep.
then convert it? And I love it. Can I then convert it to an annual?
Yes.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. And like, if you're, 200 requests a month, that means I'm doing an onboarding and I'm doing a re-engagement, or I'm like, I might do 2 requests for one onboarding, right? So it's every form you're sending out to someone.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Or you could just be collecting some data. So the one thing we did sort of show was the quick fetch, where you can just send a request for information. So you can do a quick fetch form where you can add your own questions on the fly and just say, hey, send me your member's statement for your super fund.
Nice.
Or you could be having a standard sort of questionnaire and you're like, oh, I want to ask these ones. Oh, I've already got the settlement statement. I don't need that. I will just send that. And then that is just a single request tool.
Brilliant. Excellent.
So, yeah, there are other ways to use Seamlss, and that's where your requests may go up. The next thing I'm really keen for is the self links. So think of like the lead links where people will just do from a lead. I want clients to be able to do the same thing. So you can just send them a link and they can start re-engaging or onboarding themselves, like the initial link.
Nice. I mean, and it's pretty low risk. Excellent.
Yep.
That's
Awesome.
it. I've asked my 50 questions. I've learned quite a bit. Anita, lovely to see you.
Yes.
Hope everyone's well. Cool.
Yes. Thanks everyone for joining us. Hopefully you got a lot of value out of today. I certainly did. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast.
No, this was good. Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Thanks everyone. I'll stop the recording.